Welcome to
Right.
the Mental Health Hour, and welcome on in to episode 97. Impulse control tonight.
Something I
And
have very little of.
yes, this one should be a cakewalk. Uh, there's a lot to talk about. Some of the stuff I'm not as spun up on. I know that I have definite issues with impulse control. Um, the addicted brain generally does. But that is something we will talk about. So, impulse control. What do you already gave a little shout out there? What do you have on tonight's subject?
Oh dear. I feel like my bank card should be taken away from me for the lack of impulse control.
That's
um,
a big one. Yes, money,
yeah.
finances.
Oh god, yeah. It's um it's something that I was struggling with more when I was really depressed. Trying to I guess compensate for other things. So I would do that, I guess, just to keep me busy, keep me entertained. That thrill of getting something and like, wow, this is great, then you probably better use it. Um, but yeah, I struggle with impulse control with many things. Um, hmm,
It's that power of mind over matter, I
hmm,
guess, and how our willpower comes into play. And one of the things I took away very strongly from my stay at rehab was that willpower is junk.
hmm,
Willpower is nothing to, willpower is good, like a good tool, but it's not by itself. If it's
hmm,
by itself, it's junk. Um, there's studies and statistics and what have you. I didn't bother with any of the boring graphs or anything for this episode, but
hmm,
the um, the willpower alone tends to breed failure. That being said, it's not something to rely on, I guess, is what I'm trying to get across. You should not rely solely on willpower to get
hmm,
you through your addiction, your impulse. Um, there's a lot that needs to be done, and we'll look at some of that later on in the episode when we talk about treatments or possible coping and treating
hmm.
your impulsivity. Let's take a look first at myself, I guess. Myself is pretty simple, I guess. Impulse in itself, I feel, is a simple concept. We struggle to control it, which is what this is all about.
Hmm.
And the DSM has also given it its own classification: impulse control disorders, things like excessive spending, pyromania, etc. There's a bunch that fall under impulse control disorders. So for me, I have a hard time not not giving in to my addicted brain. We'll call it what it is. And it doesn't have to be substance related. Now, yes, I was or am an alcoholic, and I've also learned though that my addiction level spans a lot farther than just alcohol alone. I am addicted to anything that makes me that brings joy, or
It gives you a buzz, right?
Or gives you a buzz. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's a good way of putting it. Whether it be chemically or emotionally, physically. Uh,
Hmm.
one thing I've never. Some people get like that runner's high if they're out for a jog. They get that the endorphins and the dopamine start flowing, and they get a runner's high, which is a type of buzz. Um, it's that good feeling, and I'm addicted to anything that brings that. Um, Uncle Rick says my impulse is to have a nap during the broadcast and have to replay it again later. And we know and love that about you, Uncle Rick. Um, Hattie says impulse buying was a bad habit for me when I was younger. What, Hattie, what did you do? Maybe share in the Discord or what have you, or if you want to type something on the chat. What did you do to gain control of that? Um, anyway, the meat and potatoes of my story is that I am addicted to the good, what feels good. Not necessarily right, not
Mm.
necessarily wrong. If it feels good to me, I want more of it. And then my brain decides that that is the only thing that matters. And
Mm.
it kind of overtakes everything to a fault. Would you say you feel the same about certain things, Gemma?
Oh yeah, I have a friend who is an avid gambler, and because of the highs that they get from winning, doesn't matter how much, they keep going and going and have lost a great deal of money in doing that, just for the high. Because sometimes the high you get from that isn't always long winded and can cost you more in the long run. But yeah, I'm
I am
similar with certain things like that. I'm not into gambling and stuff, but
I'm very lucky that I never got into that because I'd probably have $0.
oh god, yeah.
It's hard for me to justify it, which is a good thing. It's probably one of the few things on this earth that I have been able to keep under control for whatever reason. I just don't want to spend my hard-earned money on that because I never seem to win. Um, I have that bad lottery luck.
Yeah, you and me both. I can't even win an argument.
Tony D, good to see you checking in. Uncle Rick says today my brain said I wanted a Big Mac and my body did not need it. So did you get the Big Mac is the question. Did you give in
Oh,
to the brain
the
or no?
impulse control with dieting. Oh my god. The number of times I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna have that bar of chocolate. I'm not gonna eat that whole bar. 10 minutes later, the whole thing's gone. I'm like, yeah, well that worked.
And Hattie finishes off with that. It was $15,000 from my grandparents. Uh, when we sold their house, when the end of the year came out and it was almost gone, I really had to ship nothing to ship for it. It was a slap in the face. I actively told myself, if you have to think twice about it, you don't need it. And that's
Mhm.
correct, right, Gemma? I mean, like
Oh yeah.
you were talking about buying earlier as well.
Oh yeah. There's definitely, if you've got any doubt in it or you don't really need it, it definitely pays off to come away, think about it, think, do I need it? What is it going to benefit? Is there something else that I can do or get? I was terrible with, because it's so easy. Um, because you're not actually seeing the actual cash change hands. So online, you can literally just click stuff, and it doesn't. I don't think it registers in your brain as much as handing over physical cash and seeing that. And it's so easy to go on such as like Amazon and click, buying a load of shit that you don't really need, and then thinking later on when you've got a house full of crap and no money in the bank, what the hell?
Exactly. Money is something that a lot of folks struggle with, myself included. I've gotten a lot better. I was definitely more impulse driven with my money when I was drinking. It's like you were talking about how having a debit card or whatever, just you
Mm,
don't see the money, so you don't think about
mm,
it. You just kind of let it go. Well, the same thing when you're, inebriated or impaired in some way.
mm.
You it's not you don't give it as much thought to the severity of how much money might be hemorrhaging from your account until it's too late at that point, um, or
Yeah.
you're stuck on the phone with people trying to get things taken back and what have you.
Hmm.
But uh, impulse is all around us. I mean, let me rephrase that. Impulse is something that's big in the lives of everyone, and marketing agencies and folks that sell for a living understand this and exploit the hell out of it. That's why you have candy in every aisle for when you're checking out at the grocery store.
Oh yeah, for the kids.
And, not like a big pack that's going to be really expensive. It's only a couple of bucks for, oh man, I could really go for some Reese cups right now. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah. Or the kids, like I feel like it's strategically placed things because they're gonna ask for it and you can't really say no sometimes just for a quiet life. I do it all the time. If he's behaved himself and I'll be like, go on then. Um
That's
Chances are he's only picked it up because he's seen it there.
that's very true. We do the same thing.
And they do it with the offers in the stores and things on the end aisles, massive like advertisements and things to lure you into buying it that you probably wouldn't buy otherwise and get you hooked into buying something you wouldn't have bought. That's why I try and make a list of what I want to get when I go to the shop and try not to deter from it. It's not easy, but
Yes.
it helps if you've got that list.
And a list is good for so many other things as well. Just keeping your thoughts in order and getting everything you need on the first go rather than stressing about did we have everything? Do I have to go back to the store? And that kind of stuff. But I mean that's part of mental health for another episode. Uh,
Mm,
but it, understanding our impulses and where it falls in is what we're trying to get into tonight, and how we can control, or if we can control them, and what we can do. It can be finances, it can be addiction to substance, it can be addiction to non-substance, it can be uh, impulse phone calls, text messages, just out of the blue. I really should do this. I really should do that. Um,
hmm.
there's all kinds of stuff in play here. Um, However, how we can get that understood and wrangled, essentially. So, why don't we go ahead and take a look at some slides? We'll get
Hmm.
into some conversation about it. I wanted to start with a few about impulse control disorder, and then we'll get into something called executive function, which I
Hmm.
thought was I didn't know that was the part when I said earlier I wasn't spun up on everything. I never heard this term, and so I looked at it a bit more, and I mean it can be more than just impulse control related. Executive function can be used for many other things. Um, However, it plays in well with tonight, and we'll take a look at that. And then at the end, we'll look at some treatment options.
Yeah.
Gemma, if you're ready, let us take a look at the first slide, which is this.
Yeah, so impulse control disorder. How many things do we think I'll come across I can't say tonight? Impulse control disorders involve chronic problems in one's ability to control his or her emotions and behaviors. So the symptoms in the mind: pleasure from acting, relief from the urge, difficulty in concentration, socially isolated, kleptomania, aggression, habit of stealing, feeling of guilt. General, so sweating, experiencing withdrawal symptoms, reducing social and work activities, and problems with coordination. And then sexual, so excessive sexual desire. And then across the bottom, we have causes. So things like genetic factors, psychological problems, damage in limbic system of the brain, elevated aggressive hormones, childhood neglect, and chronic stress. Diet and regimen. So take a well balanced diet, take calorie restricted diet, do healthy eating habits, do regular exercise. Treatment, psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, we've discussed that quite a bit. Group therapy, yoga, meditation, and drug treatment, preferably prescribed by a physician or something. And then medicines. Oh dear God, Tim, what are you doing to me? You read that.
uh, for those of you that can't see the slide, Gemma struggles with
Oh,
words.
in the comments as well.
Gemma struggles with words, and so we have a bunch of medicines. I didn't expect these to be read out because nobody's going to know what they. I don't know what they are. Platina, alumina. Um, that's just that can be omitted from the. If you're a doctor or of any kind of medical background, that might mean something more to you.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Gage asks, "Sex impulse?" Question mark. Yeah, that can be another impulsive decision to have
Mm-hmm.
a sexual relationship. Sex can be used as a weapon.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it, it it was enough that it had its own it has its own column in our step 4. For those of you that do a 12-step program, you know step 4 is
Mm-hmm.
making an inventory of all your resentments and whatnot, and sex has its own category to be done. Let's continue on with the slides because I wanted to get into development. This one is a little short one, but should provide some conversation.
So development of impulse control. So requires conscious thought, weighing the pros and cons of potential actions and their outcomes. As we grow and the areas of the brain associated with the executive function, the prefrontal cortex, nearly, develop this ability becomes more accessible. And then it is believed that the prefrontal cortex does not develop until the age of 24 to 30.
That's
Well, as
pretty
late as that.
that's pretty incredible to think about. Like
Mm.
a major part of your brain doesn't even really develop until you're 24 to 30 years old.
It makes me wonder if some people's of it does, but that's a different topic.
Yeah. So developing your impulse control is obviously a task at hand. It's a task in itself. Conscious thought. It requires conscious thought. So we have to be, again, mindfulness comes into play. We have to be in the moment, present. We have to understand what we're doing. Um, and, like it says, weighing the pros and cons of decisions or potential actions and their outcomes that will befall it because every action has a reaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just a law of life, a law of physics.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it certainly has its place here. Um, a lot of times, our impulses are decisions that aren't going to warrant the best outcome per se.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like an impulse buy is it releases that dopamine or the endorphins. It gives you the high, of buying something new. Everybody likes something brand new,
Mm-hmm.
and especially the people that like to shop excessively, they get
Mm-hmm.
that runner's high, but from online shopping, which again has made things like we were talking about finances. We were talking how that it's easier. to let things go or to let money go when it's just a debit card because you don't actually see the cash transaction. You don't see the money leaving your hand to go to someone else's. Let's go ahead and look at executive function. Um, I wanted to do this one. Here's a quick little overview.
Executive function, or EF, refers to a mental process that is involved in the coordination of other cognitive skills. So, the definition: executive function refers to a cognitive module consisting of effector output elements involving inhibition, working memory, and organizational strategies necessary to prepare a response. And then examples: planning, attentional control, working memory, self-regulation, organizational skills, TME, emotional regulation, and prioritization.
So, executive function is that cognitive process that we were talking about, that prefrontal cortex that takes some developing. Apparently, it takes 24 years of developing. How these play into our impulses is quite simply breaking down the mindfulness or being mindful, shall I say, about the moment we're in, what's happening, uh, and then, like we discussed just a bit ago, weighing the pros and cons, um, prioritizing, as it says. When you weigh the pros and cons, you're organizing, you're paying attention, you're planning, you know, you have a working memory going on of what's happened in the past. When maybe you have done this in the past, um, to stick with the impulse buying, just because that's been the running theme. Um, for examples, have you bought something similar in the past, and how did that turn out?
Mm,
Um, or um, have you not bought something, or have you not bought this specific item? Or is it not even about the item? Is it just about your willpower to say, no, I don't need to spend this money right now?
mm,
Weighing the pros and cons really comes into play. Uh, there are types of executive function. I'll let Gemma go through these.
mm-hmm. Let me just find it. Here we go. So these are the 8 executive functions. Self control is the ability to stop and think before acting. Self monitor, the ability to view and evaluate oneself. Emotional control, the ability to manage feelings and achieve goals and complete tasks. Flexibility, the ability to adapt to changing conditions by revising plans or changing strategies. Task initiation, the ability to start and finish tasks without procrastinating. Organization, the ability to develop and use systems to keep track of materials and information. Working memory, the ability to use information held in memory to complete a task. And finally, planning and time management, the ability to create steps to reach a goal.
Excellent. So that kind of takes the examples from the previous slide and breaks it down a little bit more, because we have things like working memory, emotional control, um, self monitoring, holding yourself accountable uh, before said impulse is either achieved or, um, well, actually, before it even comes to whether or not it's done, we need to, the whole, um, God, I'm trying to think of the correct way to describe this. Not the way that we um, think about it, but we want to recognize, I guess, is the best way to put it. Recognize that this is going to be an impulse decision. Obviously, that's going to hit. Like if you're standing in the checkout counter waiting to be rung up at the grocery store, and you see the candy next to you, the impulse is going to hit quicker than you can think. Oh, there's a big opportunity for impulse. You know, before your brain hits that stage, you're going to already have the impulse. Damn, I would really like a Reese cup right now.
Mm.
So it's second nature. It's involuntary, like blinking, breathing. Let me check in real quick on the comments because I see there's a lot going on. I'm talking, but I'm not paying as much attention. Tim, you have zero control over impulse cussing. Yes, Ella said earlier about my impulse cussing, which
Yeah.
which I mean, we are who we are.
Another reason to join the 100th episode,
Oh boy,
because the bloopers reel will demonstrate that beautifully.
yeah.
The hours of editing over your impulse control or lack thereof.
There it is, the 100th episode bloopers. Um, yeah. What can I say? We are who we are, right? It's I
Yeah.
keep it. I think I keep it pretty good on the broadcast these days.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
really gotten, unless I was streaming with Ella back in the Haps days and early Twitch days. There was that was my stress release time. Um,
And I feel like Ella's stress would be way up there.
so self bringing it back to executive function. Self control falls in your falls in the wheelhouse of willpower, the ability to stop and think before acting. Um, what exactly is going on here, and how is it going to affect me in the future? Um, then you can get into your organization, your pros and your cons. Is it worth it? Working memory, the ability to use information held in a memory to complete a task. Journaling is working memory. It's also organization. Journaling is emotional control.
Hmm.
Journaling is planning and time management. Journaling is self monitoring. Journaling falls under a lot of these executive functions. Um, and it, it would be uh, it would be wrong not to bring it up again, as we do most every episode, how journaling can be so helpful. But at the same time, I also don't want to beat the hell out of it. I don't want to beat it into the ground so bad that um, like it's like I'm pushing it or forcing it on everybody. It's just I always think to mention it because it just fits for everything we talk about. And I also took I took a lot away from sitting down and journaling when I never thought I would, because I don't like writing. I don't like sitting down and doing that. But the amazing um, feeling or it's just hard to explain. It worked for me for some reason,
Hmm.
and I like to share that. It is one of the things that works for me. It's not going to work for everybody, and I
Yeah.
understand that.
I
But
found a good app that helps me because I can't sit down and write. I have to use apps to help. And I found one more recently that gives you incentives into filling things in and checking in with your mood, doing a bit of gratitude and things. And it's really been helping me. I'm just going to find what it's called for you now. Um,
poor Ella
it's
got
only a fairly new thing. Oh, Dailyo. There we go. It's a free app on iOS and Android.
what was it called?
Dailyo.
All right,
Daylio.
we will put that in the Discord for those interested.
There is a premium feature to it, but it is also free. Very, very good. Gives you incentives to filling in daily, checking in daily, reminds you to do it. checks in with how you're feeling, why you might be feeling it. It's very, very good.
I will look it up because I don't have any of the journaling apps.
Mm,
I've always kind of said I'm more of a pen and paper guy. I like the raw, um, almost, what do you call it when it's like caveman? Uh,
yeah.
it's just the old way of doing things. I like
Hmm.
that, especially when it comes to journaling, just sitting down with pen and paper and letting whatever comes out come out. But let's get back to executive function real quick. I wanted to throw up some examples of executive dysfunction and what that
Yeah.
looks like.
Okay, so executive dysfunction. Some examples of executive dysfunction include focusing too much on just one thing, being easily distractible, daydreaming or spacing out when you shouldn't be. I do that a lot. Struggling to switch between tasks, problems with impulse control, and trouble starting difficult or boring tasks. That is every single day.
So, focusing too much, struggling between tasks, problems with impulse. This, all six of these sound to me like what? Do you have? It's not a test, but do you know what I'm thinking? After after 92 episodes, have you gotten in my head yet?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
What are these symptoms of that we may have just done a show on recently?
Oh, ADHD.
Absolutely. ADHD.
Oh, yeah, for
Uh,
real.
this slide is almost the definition of ADHD.
Yeah, you could
Um,
take the top bit off and it'd just be like you could use it for ADHD.
so, I mean, what does that say? That ADHD is our brains not being able to do executive functions. It's an
Hmm.
executive dysfunction. Um,
Yeah.
so, just a quick little kind of overview of executive function, and I have a good article that I'm going to post in the Discord for further reading. Um, if you're interested in it, what it is, uh, there's three main areas to remember: the working memory, the cognitive flexibility, or flexible thinking, um, and then your inhibitions being able, or your impulse being able to be controlled, self control, willpower. So that is like what it is. It's it's the it, well, actually, right here it said, I read that it's often known as executive function is often known as the management system of the brain. So it kind of filters the um, the pros, the cons, the cognitive flexibility. I hope that I'm getting that across. But if I'm not, and you have more questions, I like I said, I have an article that I found for tonight's episode specifically on executive function because I was not very well spun up on it. Um, it makes sense now. I know what cognitive flexibility is. I know what working memory is. I know what self control is. I didn't know like um, these 3 to 8 things that we went over on the other side were called executive function and can be utilized in more things than just impulse control.
Hmm.
Uh, it's also paying attention, um, to what's going on. It's organization. It's regulating your emotions and your points of view, um, and keeping track of exactly what's going on around you when it's happening, what you're doing, journaling essentially. What can get in the way? of it, as we discussed on the last slide there, the executive dysfunctions, things like ADHD, is just a perfect way to put it. Or having um, anxiety can get in the way of good executive functioning. Um, over getting overly emotional about things. Um, I'm trying to think of something else. I get that's pretty good for some examples though. Just the overall difficulty of uh, being able to execute these things like prioritization. How difficult? Take a look at your life and your decision making, and rate it. How difficult do you find it to uh, prioritize what's important? How difficult do you find it to weigh the pros and cons? And then how difficult in the overall scheme of things do you find it to make, first of all, a decision, because that's part of it. Decision making,
I'm terrible at that.
right, wrong, or indifferent. Can you make a decision? And if you can make a decision, do you feel like it was the right one in the end? The answer is most always going to be, I feel like the answer will almost always be yes in the moment. But now let's wait 10, 14 days later. Is it still the best decision?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think that's a lot of the problem I have, struggling to make a decision, then having rarely made one sometimes. But I think some of it comes down to early childhood and not being allowed to make those, then having to make them, not being able to make them, and then if I do, then going over it and over it, thinking, was that the right one? Did I just screw up? And you can get into a vicious cycle there as well.
Absolutely. And that is it's important to keep track of and keep remembrance of for future times to come, and to when you go the next time down the line when you go to make a purchase or weigh the pros and cons on a decision. So, like I said earlier, we keep throwing around impulse buying. I didn't really want the whole episode to be about impulse buying, but
Mhm.
that was one example that I feel like everybody could relate to,
Oh yeah.
and makes it easiest. But all of those things that we talked about previously, if we go back, like the sexual side of things, the general, and the mind side of things, things like
Hmm.
kleptomania, and things like your aggression, we can we our anger level can be an impulse driven thing in the moment. Um, the kids aren't listening, or something happened that is just not ideal. We'll put it that way.
Hmm.
Um, our anger can impulsively at first be through the roof, over the top. But
Hmm.
as things progress, as time moves on, uh, we look back and we're like, "Damn it! Why did I get so angry for that? That was dumb." And now I need to go apologize because I, I acted impulsively. I was angry, sure, but was that the right reaction to what had happened? Um,
It's being able to do that, being able to pick up on that and do that though, and realize you were in the wrong and go and apologize, that makes it
yeah.
um like better, like because you can go to the other extreme of impulse control and not being able to control your temper and behavior, lashing out, um like domestic violence, things like that, the way you react in that sense as well.
Hmm.
Having been there myself, literally it got to, like, I would say it was like flicking a switch and constantly treading on eggshells because he had absolutely zero control when it came to being able to control his temper. So that's another one. That's the far end of the extreme.
Right. Um, let's take a look finally at some treatment options.
Mhm.
As we always like to round the topic off with is what can we do about this if this is sounding familiar.
Mhm.
Um, treatment for impulse control disorders. Now, this I'll earmark with we're not talking just impulse buying again. Um, the impulse control disorders is that wide variety of topics like kleptomania, pyromania, etc. This is going to fall under that.
Yeah, okay. So, treatment for impulse control disorders, difficult to treat. So, negative behavior, inherently gratifying and reinforcing. Patience and persistence as relapse common. So, build relapse into counseling. Little research available. Treatment recommendations tentative. Based primarily on theory and effectiveness with related disorders, like we mentioned, things being related with the ADHD, things like that, and then importance of trusting relationship.
And well, that one didn't come out so good, but
Yeah, here you go.
Gemma will go ahead and read it for us. And
Yeah, so cognitive interventions such as identifying and avoiding triggers, countering, oh my goodness, maladaptive.
maladaptive.
Yeah, it's blurry, so I was struggling to zoom in as well. Maladaptive thoughts and beliefs, behavioral interventions, such as teaching coping strategies to resist urges, aversive conditioning, and covert sensitization, drug treatments, such as antidepressant medication. Not going to say the name of that, or any of them. So, yeah, medication. Thanks again. Uh,
Um,
um, prescribed by a therapist.
yes,
Yeah.
by a psychiatrist.
Yes, and then 12-step programs, as you
12-step
mentioned. Yeah.
programs are out there. They're for more than just alcohol.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
for
very.
these types of impulse control um, exercises. Drug treatments, obviously, as with a vast amount of folks on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
are on antidepressants. They have become pretty mainstream, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's what SSRIs are. Antidepressants like Zoloft, which is what I take. The generic brand being sertraline. Now Trexone, I was on when I was first admitted to rehab, and for a short period of time after I got home. I'm no longer on that. That blocks the pleasurable effects of opioids, um, and works uh, for other things, but that's what it's for. It's not a opiate reverser or anything. You can't take a handful of pills and then take a naltrexone and you're all better. It's supposed to be there in place of um, willpower and what have you. You know you're going to fail. You know you're an addict, and now we're taking steps medically, chemically, to try and combat that. It's supposed to make it undesirable, essentially.
Mm.
Um, it takes the fun out of it. So let's what's the point exactly? Um, cognitive interventions. We talk about that with a lot of other different things. And behavioral as well. We got into phobias and aversions, and how to condition that. Um, these are all things, uh, minus drug treatments, outside of going to the doctor and um, getting the prescription and then following up, because that's as big a part as getting the prescription.
Mm-hmm.
Following up and with the doctor and telling them exactly how it's affecting you, and if it's better, worse, If you don't feel the same, if this sucks, these are all things that need to be followed up on to make sure you're on the right combination of medicine for you, for
Mhm.
you, because nothing works the same on every single person. And then um, you also don't want to be walking around like a zombie or just, you know,
Oh
not
God.
yourself. You want to be you, right?
Yeah. Nothing
So
worse than that. Being
so
zombified. Horrible.
so the drug treatments do provide or do take a bit of work, but the cognitive interventions, the behavioral interventions, the 12-step program, these are all, you got to work for this. Like, um, as it says at the top there, it's difficult to treat. Um,
Mhm.
so they suggest negative reinforcement instead of the positive, which helps with learned behavior and what have you. The
Mhm.
negative can develop learned behavior as well. Um, Patience and persistence as relapse is common. They I had to literally write out my relapse as it would happen because relapse is so common, and it's just it. I like the therapeutic part of taking the mystery out of it. You expect a relapse, and then it's not so daunting, and you can get back up on that horse. It's not such a huge blow. Um, it doesn't. It's not meant to say, relapse is fine. Go ahead and do it as many times as you want.
Yeah.
It's there in place to say, hey, people make mistakes. This shit is hard, and it happens. But get back up on the horse and get back out there. Um,
Mhm.
so those were the couple things I wanted to touch on with the treatment side of things. It's difficult road, but impulse control is, if you have felt that you have trouble with controlling your impulse or self control over
Mhm.
your purchases, self control over your sexual habits, self control over your anger, self control over stealing shit, whatever the case may be. If you feel that, then you know exactly how hard it is to get control of that.
Mhm.
If you're addicted to a substance, you know damn well how hard it is to work a program and to stay sober.
Mm.
It's an everyday thing, and it doesn't get easier.
No, you just take one day at a time. That's all you can do.
Um, but I think that's a good place to kind of tie the bow on this episode and wrap it up.
Yeah.
Um, we'll get into some community calendar here in a second. If there is any questions or further information needed, please reach out to us on any of our socials at the bio.link/TMHH. Our website is tmhhonline.com. You can find all of our stuff at either of those places. Um, and then, most importantly, the Discord, uh, as it will, um, it is the prime place for us to get in touch with our community here, that has grown and we're so grateful for.
Mhm.
Um, I'm going to go ahead and throw this on screen as well if it will process quickly. Yes. Friday, June 23rd. That is not this Friday, but next Friday on our Discord. You can catch a link in the chat that Hattie's been throwing up, um, or you can scan this graphic if you're watching live or watching the replay on YouTube, the video replay. I haven't. Well, the Discord chat, or I'm sorry, the Discord invite link will also be in the episode descriptions of any podcast episode that you're listening to. Um,
If you are
but
on Discord as well, and you click the thing at the top. I'm just going to try and open it now real quick. There is an event list just right at the top without showing too much personal shit.
Yes.
If you click that and press that you want to attend, it will remind you just before the event as well.
Indeed. So please come join us on the 23rd. That's next Friday, not this Friday. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 10 p.m. Gemma time. We're going to be doing about an hour long, 45 minutes to an hour on the Discord Lounge channel. Gemma will be there. I will be there in person. Talk to us live. Check in. Don't be shy. You don't have to cam up. You don't have to. You don't even have to mic up. You can literally come in the room and put yourself.
Oops. Oop, where did he go?
Mic muted and camera muted, just like that. It's as simple as that. You can just hang out, and we'll just chat about whatever, So we did this once before. It was met with good graces, and you guys have asked that we do more of these, so here you go. We are doing more. We'll do probably one of these a month, I think, is the tentative plan.
Mm-hmm.
Dunson, what is up? Good to see you. Thanks for following along with us. We're just closing up the shop now for this week, but catch us every Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Catalyst. Let's get into the community calendar for this evening, or for this that we always do. Catalyst. We've already talked about it tonight. Jim in Chicagoland is on a Teams meeting. Don't worry, I got you covered. He's fireside tonight. Went out and impulsively bought some wood, and we're going to have some fireside chat tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 8 p.m. Pacific. Right here on Twitch. His handle is right there, and he has been in the chat. So give him a follow and share him out. It's a great broadcast. Our good buddy Ray has also been here tonight, a mod on the show, and does a similar mental health broadcast. Well, not similar in the aspect of what we put on here, but I mean similar in the positive vibes, positive energy that he brings to his Twitch channel, A Ray of Sunshine. Give him a follow and catch his new lives on Tuesday evenings. Gemma, I'm going to go get a baby girl because I forgot that I promised. If Ella and Dina are still here, and anybody else that gives, please tell the folks about your channel, and I'll be back.
Yeah, I haven't done as much lately, but there's a cooking train. I've forgotten. That's a good one. I think not this weekend, next weekend, maybe. Or the weekend. I don't know. It's a Saturday. So some cooking, some fooling around, maybe some crafts and stuff. Yeah, anything and everything. And then we haven't seen Eric, but he also was a previous guest on the show and does his own broadcast from gaming. And Penelope.
And Penelope, yes, and we can't forget, for all things bunny, our good friend Ella, who is here with us in chat tonight. Say hi, Ella.
Yay.
Hi, Dina. Hi, chat. My www.mybunnyvalentine.com for all your bunny merch needs. There's never a bad time to buy bunny stuff, right? Use the promo code FireDude15 to save 15% on your purchase. Also, you can hang out with Ella and Puppy Cat late nights on Twitch as she sings and plays the ukulele, among other instruments that she's been bringing on.
Impulse buy some bunnies.
And since she's in chat tonight, you can just click on her name and give her a follow. and catch her Insomniac streams, which I used to be a big part of, but thanks to this one, I actually sleep at night now. So, uh,
Wait till she gets older, then it'll do a full reverse, and you'll be back to being an insomniac.
yep, I'll come crawling back to the late night insomnia streams. She's saying hello. Hi. That should about wrap things up for another episode of the Mental Health Hour. That's number 90 fucking 7.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
impulse cursing.
97 episodes in the books. It's just nuts. We're fastly approaching that big 100. Yeah, impulse calls cussing. Oh no.
Yeah, why not? Just get it on in there.
And it is time for a baby girl to get some food in her high chair that subsequently and unironically Ella was nice enough to purchase for her for the
Mm-hmm.
the baby coming into the world proceedings. What do you call that? Just the celebration of Penelope. So yes,
Baby
we're gonna go
shower.
have some supper. And Gemma, do you have anything before we close?
No stream next week, apparently.
Oh
This isn't-
shit, yes.
There you go.
I forgot. That's very important.
Yes,
Next
you're
week,
going gallivanting, aren't you?
next week I will be at the beach with the family on our vacation. So no stream next Wednesday. We will be back the following Wednesday, the very last Wednesday of June for our Pride Month episode. And just want to thank you for the reminder, Gemma.
Yeah.
And that is all. Gallivanting, huh?
Yeah, gallivanting.
What beach? Ocean City, Maryland. We'll be down there. Ocean City, New Jersey. All right. That is it. That is all. Yes, Gemma's hair is pink, if anybody wanted to know. And we'll send it out with that. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks again for all the bits, subs, and resubs, and shares and likes. Again, we can't do this show without you guys, and the support is awesome.
Oh dear.
Say bye. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye now.